All right, guys, it's that time of year. One of my favorite things of the NFL season, the NFL draft, and we're right around the corner. We are recording on Tuesday, the 26th. The draft is going to be held Thursday night through Saturday in Las Vegas, Nevada. Actually, in Paradise, Nevada, which is part of the Las Vegas metro area. April 28th through the 30th. And you take your pick of what you watch it on, ESPN, ESPN2, ABC, NFL Network, whatever. It's going to be on everywhere, especially on Thursday night. With me tonight, as always, and I keep forgetting how many years it's been, but we've done it on when he had his radio show on WDLZ in Murfreesboro, and now we started doing it on the Final Score podcast. With me to do our annual podcast is the legend, Mr. Gaddis Hodges. What's up, Gatmo?
Hey, Stevie, what's happening, my man? Go ahead and tell everybody the reason we're doing it on a Tuesday, because we're getting on the Frank Timberlake Rich Square Market jet tomorrow morning, heading out to Vegas.
Well, that's right. Draft, right. That's right. Frank is flying us out for the draft, so if you see us there, I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag this early. I was just going to put pictures up there and show you guys. But yeah, we're flying out. Frank's putting us up in the best hotel out there in Vegas, and he's handling all the food and everything. So yeah, Rich Square Market private jet going to Las Vegas with Gatmo and myself for the NFL draft tonight. And I have to ask you every year, how many years has it been now, you think?
I have no idea. I started my show back in 2005, I believe it was, on WDLZ, and it went till about 2016. I took a couple years off and came back and been doing the Chowan show. But so
right.
I guess you could say, of course, we were doing it once we dropped it on your podcast. So
yeah.
I would say since 2005. So what would it be?
17
years.
Yeah.
You know, according to my math skills, I learned here in Northampton County. So, you know, but getting back to taking the private jet. You know, Steve, I'm not a bucket list kind of person.
Right.
Because my buckets always seem to have a hole in them. But there's a couple of things that I would really love to do. One of them is I would love to go to the NFL draft.
Yes.
One of these days, maybe Charlotte will get it. I doubt it. It'll probably be too old for me to, probably too long down the road, because I don't think, the owner there, David Tepper, is really in high regard as far as the Charlotte area is concerned, considering this little deal they got going on with down in Spartanburg and Rock Hill, where they've dropped the building of the headquarters there. So I don't think he'll ever draw it in Charlotte, but, maybe D.C. But I would love to go one time. And just think about it. To be in Vegas from now through Saturday, that would be wonderful. And the other thing I would love to go to, and this is probably the number one thing on my bucket list, and a lot of people think I'm crazy, I would love to go to the Super Bowl. I've always wanted to go.
I would, yeah.
I've been to the Masters, and I saw my man Albert Pujols play in St. Louis. I've been to Stanley Cup Finals up in Carolina, but like I said, I'm not a big bucket list guy, but I would love to go to the Super Bowl. I just think the pageantry around it. I'm one of the few people that probably watches it when it comes on at 1 or 2 o'clock, and I'll stay up and watch afterwards. Now that I'm retired, I can stay up late and watch all the interviews afterwards. I just love that day.
Yeah,
and I know a lot of people have lost interest in the NFL because some of the things that have happened.
Oh, yeah.
I've learned a while back, I'm getting to the age where I'm not going to let what other people do in certain things steal my enjoyment.
Exactly.
And I enjoy the NFL, and I think I told you back a little while ago when I stopped doing high school football here this past year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, really it started with the COVID year because we didn't have many games. But when I was doing high school and I do college on Saturday, I was not much in the NFL on Sunday because I'd seen so much football. I probably enjoyed the NFL season this past season as much as I have in a long time, and I kind of gotten myself back into it. And, like I said, I'd love to go to the draft. I'd love to go to the Super Bowl. Probably won't ever happen, but that's okay. I can enjoy both here in beautiful Woodland, North Carolina.
Exactly. And look, I'm off on Mondays. That's usually my day off. So Super Bowl Sunday night, yeah, I sit up and watch all the interviews and all the post game stuff. And there's been years where I've sat through from 1 o'clock to game time and watched the whole pregame stuff. And you know a little bit about everybody that's playing in that game after that, for sure.
Yeah, you do. And being from the radio side of things, I like the production part of it. I like the pregame part of it. I like the postgame part of it, and different aspects of it. I thoroughly enjoyed the halftime deal this year. My kids absolutely loved it.
Oh yeah.
And you're kind of in that age group that did as well. And but every year you're gonna have people. I don't like this. I don't like that. But it's going to that. But NFL, I'll give NFL credit for this. Nobody markets their product any better than the National League.
Oh, no. You're right about that. You're exactly right about that. So, this year, it's very interesting. I mean, because this draft, usually when we do our mock drafts, there's a definite number one. Most of the time. There's been a few years but this year, there is no definite number one. It's flip-flopped a couple of times. And going into this Thursday night, I think it could go either way. But also what we got to talk about here is there's 8 teams that have 2 picks in this first round. You've got the Texans, the Jets, the Giants, the Eagles, the Saints, the Packers, the Chiefs, and I think that's it. And the Lions do too.
And Green Bay as well.
Yeah, the Packers. But what's the and we love doing odds on what's going to happen here. What's the chance that all of these teams use both picks and nobody trades?
Slim to none. Slim to none.
Because I'm already hearing in just the past hour or so, the Eagles are talking about trying to move up. There's somebody there they're looking at evidently ahead, and they want to move up. And also, just talk the Giants might move back. They're another one that's got 2 picks.
5 and 7.
Yeah, I mean you got 2 picks in the top 10. Jets have 2 picks in the top 10. And
they got 38 and 35 in the second round.
Yeah, so
as well.
The most picks this year in the draft, there's 2 teams that have 12 selections. There's the Jaguars, who have number 1, and Kansas City both have 12 picks. The fewest selections is the Miami Dolphins, who have 4. I don't know. How many of these teams do you think use one of those picks as a trade?
I'm going to say, out of the 8 teams, I'm going to say, and I'm really going out on a limb here, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you're not losing anything. I'm going to say only 3 of these 8 teams use both picks in the first round. I'm
gonna go and look. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you on my mock draft, I did not I did not mark any trades up here. I just picked it straight out. I just picked it straight out. So I'm gonna say about 4. I'd say about half of them. I'm thinking, the Eagles organization, they love to get in the middle of something, and they've got these picks. I think it's 15 and 18. I think they're going to move up. I think that's going to be one of them. I'm hoping, and let's talk a little bit about this. We'll focus on our teams. We'll focus on that when we get there. But there's just a lot of uncertainty, and I'll give you something surprisingly how I feel about Pittsburgh's pick. But let's get right into it. Number 1 on the clock right now is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they're going defense, I think, for sure. But there's a lot of people flip-flopping, like Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan was the number 1 pick everybody was saying for a while. Now Trayvon Walker from Georgia has moved up. Everybody's saying he's going to be the number 1 pick. Me, I'm just because a lot of people feel like he's got a lot more upside than Hutchinson. And he's more athletic. I'm going Trayvon Walker He's had a great year with Georgia. Of course, the national champions in that big win over Alabama. But I'm going Trayvon Walker from Georgia with the number 1 pick for the Jaguars.
Well, when you look at the Jaguars, you look at, do they want an offensive tackle to protect Trevor Lawrence? They need an edge rusher. Matter of fact, if you look through all these teams, Stevie, it seems like everybody needs an edge rusher. And that's what you're talking about with Walker. They need a wide receiver, safety, linebacker down at Jacksonville. And I'm with you. I like Trayvon Walker. Seems like he has really jumped up the ladder here. He's a well-built, versatile defender. You know, he can play across the front and at any spot. He brings, high edge run and stopping chops and untapped pass rushing potential. Just got great athleticism. Comes out of that SEC. I'm not really sold on Hutchinson.
I'm not either.
But you're going to see him pretty quickly on my draft.
Yeah, me too.
But I just like the SEC guys coming out from the edge on the defensive side, the athleticism that they have, and I'm like you. I like Trayvon Walker, number 1 for Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's what I'm going. And people can say what they want to, and as much as I don't want to say it, that playing in that SEC, and you're playing that kind of talent week after week, that I think that has a lot to do with how you're going to play in the NFL as well. You're going up against iron sharpens iron. And, I just think he's got a better upside. So
I agree. I think he's just a lot more athleticism there.
Number 2, I'll let you handle number 2. I think I know where you're going with this one.
Yeah. Well, Detroit, they're like a lot of teams, need an edge rusher. They need an offensive tackle. I think if they go offensive tackle, they're going to go with Evan Neal out of Alabama. But I think they're going to go to edge rusher. Guy's going to make a short trip over from Ann Arbor to Detroit. I think they take Adrian Hutchinson from Michigan as an edge rusher.
Yeah, I've got him as well. But with him, everybody wants him to be the next Bosa brother. That's who they're comparing him to. But I just look at him, and maybe it's just me, but he looks undersized to me. And, you're going up against, of course, you look at T.J. Watt. He looks undersized as well. But I just don't know about this guy. I'm taking I was never convinced that he would be the number 1 pick, even when everybody else was. I was just like, he just does not look like he's going to be big enough. And he may totally fool me. But, I've got him as well going to the Lions. They desperately need something on that defensive side.
Stephen, when I look at Hutchinson, you're talking about he doesn't look that big, but you look at the numbers, he's 6'7", 260.
Yeah.
But here's, I think, the comparison to both the guys. Not only do they all play in the Big 12, or Big 10, that is, but he has great length like those guys do.
Yeah.
And I'm like you. I'm just not completely sold on him, even though he's had a terrific year, had a great career. I'm not completely sold on him like I was to both the guys, but, nothing wrong with going number 2 in the back.
No, nothing wrong at all.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong at all. So number 3, the first of their 2 picks, is the Houston Texans, and I'm sticking with edge rushers here. And this guy is probably not somebody that you're going to have, may not even have in your top 5, but I got a feeling that they're going to pick this guy up, and that's Jermaine Johnson, the 2nd Florida State edge rusher. He's just quick off the ball. He played at Georgia, left Georgia for Florida State, and he has great speed off the edge. And I'm sticking with defense here. And Houston needs about just about anything right now. And but getting a flashy edge rusher, to somebody that can make a play, I think Jermaine Johnson, Florida State's going to be your guy.
Well, Houston, and we're going to get to Johnson in my draft pretty soon, but I don't have him going here. And Johnson is a terrific pick.
Yeah.
He's a great player. I've had a chance to hear him on the ACC network with Pack and Durham. He's terrific IQ for football, and I would really like him. But, Houston needs, like you said, everything. They need an offensive tackle, and they need an edge rusher. The guy I think who will really make a big splash in this NFL draft plays football up in Raleigh, North Carolina at NC State, and that's offensive tackle Akimi Aquanu. The kid is massive. I mean, he is aggressive, agile offensive tackle. He's got kind of that bulldog power and that nasty in the run game. He's 6'4", 310. I really like him. I like him over Evan Neal from Alabama. So a lot of people think it's the best offensive tackle.
Yeah.
But I like Aquanu to go number 3 to the Houston Texans. I don't know who he's going to defend as his quarterback, but still the way he's going to be he's a guy I think is going to make a big living in the NFL.
Yeah, I'll tell you this about Houston with that quarter. I think it was Mills was a quarterback at the end of last year, the rookie out of Stanford, I think. He didn't do bad last year. He did better than I thought. So they might give him a shot. I think that's why you're not seeing Houston go even considering talking about a quarterback right now, which maybe it may end up hurting them in the long run. But I think they're going to give this guy a shot and see how they can do. But Aquanu is definitely massive, and you'll hear from him on my list in just a few minutes. Number 4 is the Jets. Who you got going to the Jets?
Well, when you look at all the top 5 teams in Jacksonville, Detroit, Houston, Jets, and the Giants, these teams have one thing in common. They all need an edge rusher. And the Jets, who I think, you and I talked about this earlier this week, they have a chance to really better their football team.
Yeah.
They've got picks here, two in the first round. They got number 35 and 38 in the second round. Could they move some of those possibly? I don't think they'll move number 4. And I think they're going to take an edge rusher. And I think they're going to Oregon and take Kayvon Thibodeaux, 6'4", 254 pounds. Big-time edge defender. Explosive, has a great first step, great agility. I think he brings a lot to the table, and I think he'll end up in New York with the Jets.
Yeah, Thibodeaux is definitely one of those guys that he started and actually at one time I think they had him early on as the number 1 pick, and definitely explosive guy. I've got him a little bit further down, but I'm staying with defense. So first 4 picks are going to be defense. I'm going, like we said with the Jets, they've got picks they can use and they've got needs. They definitely got needs. But I'm going in the secondary. I'm going to get a little sauce on here. Going Ahmad Sauce Gardner, Cincinnati cornerback. 6'2", great length, and had a great combine, which and I'm going to say this about the combine. People talk about the combine. Yeah, it's important and all that, but these guys can have a great day that comes once in a lifetime that shoots them up to where they probably don't need to be. And then you got some of these great players that can just have a bad day and drops them down and people get a steal. But yeah, Sauce. So I think they go secondary. I think they go with Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati.
You talk about Gardner, and I'll have him. To be honest, he went down my draft board a little further than probably I anticipated. He's a guy that a lot of people say reminds him of Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie.
Yeah.
Who plays in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
6'3", 190, really quick. A pretty good pick here for the Jets.
Yeah. So, another New York team with 2 picks, the Giants, who've got 5 and 7. And I would not be surprised if the Giants moved one of those picks, but right now, we're going to stay. The guy you just talked about, Aquanu, from tackle from NC State. You got to protect Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones got a little banged up last year, and got to open some holes for Saquon Barkley. Try to get the Giants' offense back on track again. But like you said, watching the tape of this guy, I mean, he is just massive, and he just. I watched one play, and there was a guy that he just slam off the line, running back that never got touched. But massive guy, like you said, 310 pounds, great athleticism for a guy that big. But Aquanu, I've got him going to the Giants at number 5.
Well, I'm with you on offensive tackle. I've always given Aquanu to the Houston Texans.
Right.
So I'm going to bring in Evan Neal from Alabama.
Right.
You just mentioned 337 pounds, 6'8". Just an imposing, big-bodied offensive lineman. Got really good 40-yard dash plus times, on his resume. Just experienced and versatile offensive lineman. Coming from the SEC again, Daniel Jones will thank him more than one afternoon or one night.
Oh, yeah.
If he's the guy that Neal is protecting that quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's going to be who he's protecting. I think they're going to give him one more shot. The new this guy, I can't remember his name. He was the offensive coordinator from Buffalo. He seems to like Jones, and of course they can say anything, but I think they're going to give him one more shot and see how he does. What they need to do that the Giants have not done, and I know you're probably going to take away some of his game, but you don't need to run this guy as much as you do. He's already, you remember the Dallas game, of course. He gets lit up and goes out with a terrible concussion that kept him out for a while. I don't even know if he came back after that game. And then you're stuck with Mike Glennon for the rest of the year. And I think there was a third stringer. I can't remember his name that came there. But I don't think you need to put him running the ball as much as they have in that offense before with the way he's been banged up. You need to protect your quarterback a little bit.
Stevie, an interesting note here I heard early this week, just kind of off the draft, you talk about Mike Glennon. The school that has the most starts by quarterbacks in the NFL in the last 10 years?
NC State.
NC State.
And lot of that.
Cassette, Russell Wilson.
A lot of
Phillip
Rivers.
That's correct.
Yep. So you've had. You had Rivers and Wilson. I'm sure they're getting a majority of it right there. Because Rivers, gosh, for how many years did he start between all those years with the Chargers and then that last year with the Colts? And then, of course, Russell Wilson's pretty much been the starter since day one in Seattle. Now a Denver Bronco. But, no doubt about that. NC State's had some quarterbacks in there. And granted, Glennon's kind of putting Glennon up there with Rivers and Wilson is,
Bench covers that as well.
Yeah. Got a quick trivia question for you. See if you know this. The most Hall of Famers drafted in the first round, what year do you think it was?
Oh, my goodness. Hall of Famers drafted in the first round. Wow. Well, you got the Roethlisberger class, and some of those guys are still playing.
Yes, yeah.
Man, I have no clue.
1983, that monumental draft with John Elway. I think you had Jim Kelly, you had Jim Covert, you had Darrell Green, Marino. You had seven Hall of Famers picked in the first round.
Wow. And
what kills me about it is Pittsburgh passed on Marino. Right there in their backyard, and they passed on Marino. And a lot of, you hear a lot of stories. One story that came out a couple weeks ago, I was reading about it. Cower had went to, it was somebody he wanted to pick, and the Rooneys, whichever Rooney, I think it was, I can't remember which Rooney was in charge then that he said, but he said, no, we're picking this guy. And, they had a little discussion, and Mr. Rooney told him that, look, you just coach them. I'll put them out there. You coach them. And, but the story I heard was Chuck Noll back in 84 was the one that did not want Marino. And can you imagine going from Bradshaw straight to Marino? And then you look at it, by the time Marino retired, that was a few years before, maybe 4 years. I think he retired in 99. That was a few years before Roethlisberger come along. So you'd have a little gap in there. But if you could have had all that, those three quarterbacks, man, no telling how many Super Bowls they could have won with Marino.
Yeah. I'll throw one back at you here.
Okay.
Talking about the last 10 years. Top 5 schools with quarterbacks in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
There's another team from the ACC in the top 5. Who is it?
Most quarterbacks?
Yep, most quarterback starts in the NFL per college. In the last, we talked about number
Clemson?
1 is NC State.
Is it Clemson?
No.
I was thinking that because of Watson.
Boston College.
Matt Ryan. That's
Right.
one of them.
Right.
That would be the majority of it, probably right there would be Matt Ryan, who's moved on now. A
Yeah.
lot of it's going to be really interesting to see how some of these moves. You know, Russell Wilson with Denver, Matty Ice and with the Colts, and you know, it's going to be a different NFL this year. So back to it, number 6, the Panthers on the clock. Who you got the Panthers taking?
Carolina. Quarterback they need, offensive line they need, wide receiver they need, safety they need. Matt Rule, who I think is a better coach than what's happening
Yeah, I think
with
so
him
too.
in Carolina. Maybe he needs to be back in the college game, but he was so good at Temple, really turned it around at Baylor. He's the guy that was at Temple who really was exceptional on that lower level in the lower than the Power 5 conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is why he will take us from Liberty as a quarterback.
Oh. Okay.
I was going down a different road.
Willis, that early, you know, and let me tell you this: I've got him taking quarterback, but here's the thing: if you look, you know, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, I've been watching a lot of NFL Network, and they need Matt Rule, just like you said, he's probably a lot better coach than what has happened to him because he's, you know, the Sam Darnold deal obviously is not working. You know, you've had injuries to McCaffrey, and you know Cam Newton coming in there did not work this time. But I look at Willis, and Willis is like somebody that probably is not gonna step right in right away and be ready for the NFL. And there's a guy that's out there that they think is going to be ready to start. You know, he's going to have his bumps, I'm sure, but he's ready to start. And I got them taking Kenny Pickett from Pitt, quarterback from Pitt. Willis, you'll see him later on, but Willis has got probably the better upside than Pickett. But, you know, Matt Rule, who wanted Pickett at Temple when he was coaching at Temple, and it almost had him there, but Pickett decided at the last minute to go to Pitt. So now, finally, I think they're going to be reunited at Carolina. You there?
Not a bad pick.
There
Yeah, not a bad pick.
Yeah.
I think you can't go wrong with either guy. You and I had talked earlier this week. This is not the best quarterback draft.
No.
You know, I think a couple, you know, the guy from Western Kentucky, I think had a chance to be really good. Matt Corral, I think for Ole Miss can be good as well. And Sam Howell. I think he's a second or third ranked guy. I think he has an opportunity. I'm just wondering, you know, with Trubinsky's problems in Carolina, I mean, when he was at Carolina, going to Chicago, have kind of affected Howell a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think Howell can be a good NFL quarterback, give him 2 or 3 years. Of course, you don't want to hear that like Trubisky. I think he will be better. I think he will be better with Pittsburgh than he was.
And
to be honest, I'm going
to talk a little bit about that when we get to Pittsburgh's pick. But here's the thing with the difference between where they shouldn't hold Trubisky's problems against Howell. Trubisky didn't start as many games at Carolina. He came on late, and I think I can't remember if he left early, but he was splitting time, and I cannot remember the other quarterback's name that was there at the time. But he was splitting time with him. I think
Marquise Williams.
That's it. They were splitting time. You know, he'd get a start, Williams would get a start, and you know, I think inexperience hurt. And of course, Matt Nagy, you know, we've all seen what he can do to an offense when he's a head coach. You know, he might be better. Some teams, some guys are better coordinators than head coaches, and I think Nagy is one of those guys too. And didn't do bad his first year there, but it kind of snowballed downhill. But yeah, we'll get to Trubisky and what I think about that when we get to that pick. But yeah, I don't think they should hold that against Howell. Howell has a lot more experience, a lot more starts than Trubisky did. Did he have the year this year that he did his junior year? No, he didn't. But he had lost both his running backs and pretty much all his receivers. So, I mean, you can't hold that against him either. So
I agree. I agree, and I think he can flourish in a good offense.
Yeah,
I honestly do.
I think though what he's going to have to learn to do, he's a bigger guy, but he's going to have to learn to slide some. In college he liked to put his shoulder down and try to drive over some people. He's not going to be able to do that as often in the NFL. Number 7, the second pick for the Giants, and I've got on going. There was a lot of talk about what's his name, Tony, the wide receiver they just drafted last year, Kadarius Toney, about being on the trading block. Don't know what's going on there. Don't know if that's just something. But anytime, whether it's you're just checking it out, you want to see if there's any interest. There's something going on there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And is Kadarius Toney happy in New York? Are they happy with him? Who knows? But I've got them giving Daniel Jones another weapon. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver from Ohio State. I think they're going to go offense on this. And is this the first receiver? Yeah, this is the first receiver I've got off the board here. But Garrett Wilson, Ohio State. He's got that pedigree at Ohio State, playing in the Big Ten. I think Garrett Wilson will be their pick at number 7.
I'm going to go to the defensive side of things. A guy who has really jumped up the board here lately, and there is some skepticism about Darryl Stingley Jr.
Right
down at LSU because he's been injured, hasn't played but like 20 college games. But I think the Giants, who need some help in the secondary, will go with Derek Stingley from LSU. He's a ball-hogging corner, got great length, elite speed. His dad, Darryl Stingley, played in the NFL. 6 foot, 190. Coming out at his junior year, I think he will join that Giants defense and play in that secondary and be pretty good for him. Young man out of LSU.
That's a good pick there. I think I've got him coming a little bit later, but he's definitely coming. Falcons at number 8. Who you got?
Well, you're talking about Matty Ice heading up to Indianapolis. I think it's a great move for Indianapolis. I think Matty needed, I think he needed to change his scenery. He'll be okay there at Indianapolis, to be honest. But Atlanta, you think they need a quarterback, wide receiver, edge rusher, safety. They have Marcus Mariota coming in. They've traded for him. So I think they're going to go in the secondary. They need a safety, and the best guy there in the safety is from Notre Dame is Kyle Hamilton.
I agree.
And I think they will go with him at the safety spot. And I think the quarterback's position for Marcus Mariota is his to lose.
This was when I mentioned earlier about having a bad day at the combine. This is Kyle Hamilton right here. I've heard he could slip a little bit further because of a bad day at the combine. But if you look at it, no doubt the best safety out there in this draft. I would love for him to fall to number 20 and Pittsburgh's who they are infatuated with would be gone. That way they'd pick this guy. But some mock drafts have had Hamilton going to Pittsburgh, but I do not think he'll fall that far. But yeah, he is an incredible talent. I think he's going to be one of those names you hear about for many years to come in the NFL.
How about 6'4" and 220 at safety?
Exactly.
That's pretty good size.
Exactly, and can move. I mean, matter of fact, a few minutes ago I was watching some of his film, and I think it was against Florida State. He came all the way across the field and made an interception on the sidelines while the ball was in the air. I mean, that's how quick he was at that size. So that's, yeah, you can't teach speed, and size can't be taught either. So he's got that combination there. I've got them going with an edge rusher, and you talked a little bit about him earlier, Kayvon Thibodeau out of Oregon. Like we said, he kind of went down a little bit. His draft status kind of went down a little bit. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if he had a bad pro day or what. But, you know, you look at what he did in the Pac-12 last year. He was all over the place. But, yeah, Falcons get the edge rusher they need out of Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeau. So, next, Seattle Seahawks. Is Drew Lock the answer in Seattle? Of course, you know, Russell Wilson's gone. Drew Lock comes over in the trade from Denver. I'm thinking they don't get a quarterback right here. I'm thinking they're thinking maybe like we are. This quarterback class is not the best that we've seen. Maybe we can pick up somebody in the second round. But I've got them going offensive line. Maybe they're going to give Drew Lock a little bit of help there. And the guy you talked about earlier, I've got Evan Neal out of Alabama, tackle out of Alabama. Just huge. And, I mean, one of those guys that can, you know, I watched him play against Texas A&M, and when I watched the game that night when it was going on, you could just see him blowing guys off the line. And at that size and with that kind of athleticism, there's no doubt about it. But Evan Neal goes to Seattle with my number 9 pick.
I like your thinking. I like offensive tackle. I like offensive line here. But I think, you know, they need a quarterback. They need an offensive lineman. They need this defensive end. But I'm going to take Charles Cross, offensive lineman out of Mississippi State. 6'5", 307. How would you like to spend your Friday night for Saturday afternoon on him? You know, he's a real athletic left tackle. He excels in pass blocking. You know, but I don't think he's going to be protecting Drew Lock. I think he's going to be protecting Baker Mayfield.
I would not doubt that. That's one of the reasons. And, you know, I'm going to say this, too. A lot of the Panther fans are talking about, you know, oh, gosh, I hope we don't get Baker Mayfield. I hope we don't get Baker Mayfield. Well, let me tell you this. What are your alternatives? Sam Darnold is your alternative right now. And you know how that went last year. So at least, you know, and believe me, I'm in the AFC North. I'm a Steelers fan. Baker Mayfield played for the Browns. I saw Baker Mayfield a lot. I saw Baker Mayfield take a lot of beating and get right back up. And the fact that guy, everybody talked about his accuracy this year. But if one of your shoulders is in a harness, don't you think when you go to throw the ball, that's going to affect your accuracy a little bit? The guy was out there on the field giving it everything he's got. You know, you could do worse. At least he didn't see ghosts on the field like Sam Darnold said he did. But, you know, there's worse things, a lot worse things to have at quarterback in the NFL than Baker Mayfield.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm a big Baker Mayfield fan. I loved him at Oklahoma. I loved him in the NFL. The thing about Baker Mayfield, regardless how it turns out, you're going to get his best.
Oh, yeah.
And I like what you said about him playing injured. A lot of people held him to a higher level than maybe he should have been. But I love Baker Mayfield. I think he's got a spot. I think he's one of the top 32 quarterbacks in this league. I think he needs to be playing in this league. I'd take him on my favorite team, I can promise you that. But, and you know, Seattle, I think, with Pete Carroll, who I think works well with quarterbacks, would be good with Baker Mayfield.
Right.
I would love to see him at Carolina. I absolutely
yeah,
love to see him, even though some of the Anderson guy who's a wide receiver said he didn't want him there. Well, so be it.
You rather keep Sam Darnold throwing interceptions to you and screaming at him on the sidelines. That's fine. Yeah. But, yeah.
And he could figure, you know, you and I were talking about how many of these teams would trade one of their first-round picks.
Right.
Baker Mayfield could very well be in one of those discussions as far as who might trade, who might not trade.
Yeah, and another, you know, while we're on the subject of Cleveland, you know, they had the big pickup with Deshaun Watson, paid him all that money, gave up all those draft picks. Of course, you won't see them in the first round of the draft. The Texans have their spot. and then pay Denzel Ward a bunch of money. Where's all this money coming from? You know, you Cleveland has done some finagling there, but you know, and you got to think about down the road, Cleveland fans, if there's any of you out there listening, Myles Garrett's going to want a lot of money for long. And are you going to be in a position to give him a lot of money with what you just paid Watson, what you just paid Ward?
Well, Stephen, when you think about it, I guess you look at that. They got rid of that big salary with Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
I believe they let Jarvis Landry go. Is that correct? Is he still with them? I think they let him go.
Well, I think he is. They might have let him go. They might have let him go.
And then you got Mayfield's contract. So,
but here's another thing too.
Maybe that's where your money's coming from.
You got Watson back there. If you don't have Landry, who are they going to throw the ball to?
I agree.
So
they did pick up.
The
guy
Cooper.
from the Cowboys.
Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got one weapon there, but there's a way. Believe me, I've been watching Cleveland a long time. There's a way Cleveland's going to screw this up somehow. They always
sounds like a Pittsburgh fan.
Yeah, they always manage to do. Die-hard Pittsburgh here. All right, so number 10, the Jets. Who you got?
Well, I like a guy that you picked earlier for the Jets. No, I'm sorry. I like them going defensive end here, and they go into Penn State and take Jermaine Johnson. No, I'm sorry, Jermaine Johnson from Florida State.
Florida State, yeah.
I'm sorry, he's from Florida State. And that was the guy you picked earlier.
Right.
He's 6'5", 254. Had a great year for Florida State. And like I said, like I mentioned earlier, I heard him on the Pachyderm show. He is fantastic. Got a great football IQ. I really like him. I think he's going to be an all-pro kind of player for the Jets. I tell you, if the Jets take Thibodeau at number 4, come back and take Johnson at number 10.
That's a heck of a defense.
Man, that's some pretty good bookend.
Yeah.
You know.
So, I've got them going offense. You know, I think they need some receivers to take some of the pressure off the quarterback. I've got them going Drake London, wide receiver from USC. You look at him, and he looks like Mike Evans from New Orleans. He's had that comparison a lot, but he's quick, runs great routes, and he's got that USC. Of course, you think about all the USC great receivers they had, and of course, I'm going to mention Lynn Swann. But, I've got him going receiver, Drake London, wide receiver from USC.
And I've got, that was the Jets, right?
Yeah, you just picked Johnson there.
That's right.
So we get into number 11. The Washington Commanders. Or the Commodores, whatever these people want to call it. There's a lot of jokes going around about that. The Commodores, the Commanders, Commandos. To me, I don't care what you call them. They'll always be the Redskins.
I like them WFT.
A lot of people said,
yeah, I love that.
But you know what? There was a name on the board when they had the whole voting deal, and I think they just went against what everybody voted. I wouldn't mind. And somebody actually had a makeup of what the uniforms, the helmets, and everything would look like. The Red Wolves. That would have been, and it was a very nice looking uniforms. They were cool looking, and you had the wolf on the side. But yeah, I'm sure they were scared they would offend a wolf somewhere. But Commanders for me, I got a guy, and Washington has one of the legendary safeties in football that really unfortunately we never got to see how great he could be because his life was taken really short. Sean Taylor, but guy you talked about earlier, Kyle Hamilton from Notre Dame. I got the Commanders taking him, and I think that's a steal for him too if he gets all the way to number 11. Just because, like we said earlier, because of a bad combine, he's dropped down a little bit. But yeah, I think Washington reaps the benefits and adds. And Washington, their defense coming into last year was supposed to be one of the top defenses in the league. Of course, they had injuries to some of their top guys, but they never played like that defense last year. And I think they need a little kick in the butt. Maybe this guy will give them a little kick in the butt with the Commanders.
I like them going on the defensive side of things as well, but they needed some help with inside linebacker as well. I got them going out to Oregon and taking Devin Lloyd, the linebacker, 6'3", 237, tall, rangy linebacker, who makes plays all over the field. A lot of people kind of think he's a lot like Isaiah Simmons, who came out of Clemson, who plays with the Arizona Cardinals. But I like the Commanders to take him at this spot.
Right. So who we got? Number 12, the Vikings. Who you got?
The Minnesota Vikings. They need a wide receiver in the worst way. And not only do they need a wide receiver, but they need a corner. And they need I think everybody needs an edge rusher.
Yeah, everybody. Well, Pittsburgh
really do. Everybody needs an edge. Yeah, you're right about that. But it seems like everybody. But I like the Vikings to go to Alabama and take up Jamison Williams, wide receiver from Alabama. A lot of people say he's a lot like Jerry Jeudy with maybe better speed. You know, he's 6'2", 179. Got that the speed where he can go deep. It just makes those big-time electric kind of plays. But I like the Vikings to go with him. And if Kirk Cousins can get it to him or not, that's another situation as well.
Yeah,
but, you know, but Williams is a big-time wide receiver from Bama. A lot of really good wide receivers in this draft.
Yes, it is. And I mean, and not just the first round, too. We'll talk a little bit about a receiver that I'm kind of coveting. I'm hoping he'll fall maybe to the second round, and Pittsburgh can pick him up. But I got him going defense here, and I got a guy that you talked about a little bit earlier that's, you know, a lot of talk about, like you said, hasn't played much, had some injuries, but I got him taking Derek Stingley, the cornerback from LSU here. I think, you know, and you got to look at with some of these guys, like we talked about, Hamilton may have fell a little bit because a lot of people consider Hamilton the best athlete in the draft. Stingley is one of those guys that, you know, something like this can put a chip on your shoulder where people didn't take you as early as you think, and you can come out and really play hard. You look at Randy Moss, how he felt about all the teams that passed on him, especially the Cowboys. He put it to the Cowboys his rookie year. But, yeah, Derek Stingley, I think, goes here. And I think this is a guy that you're going to see in years to come be an all-pro cornerback and one of those shutdown cornerbacks in the NFL. So, number 13, second pick for the Texans. And I've got him going defensive side. And this guy, you know, he was really one of the stories of the Combine. And this is what I'm talking about, having a great day at the Combine can really up your draft status. As big as this guy is, he ran a 4.78 40 time at the Combine. He's over 300 pounds. Can you imagine getting hit by a 300-pounder going that fast? And I'm talking about Jordan Davis, defensive tackle for Georgia. I think the Texans looking to get that defense straight. Of course, I had him taking Jermaine Johnson earlier, and this guy will shore up the interior here. And it remains to be seen if that was, you know, is he going to, you know, because a lot of people say he's not he can't stay on the field long, his stamina, but he ran that 4.78 40, and that's all that mattered to these guys, and they've moved him up in the draft. But I've got Jordan Davis going number 13 to the Texans.
I do not want him hitting me.
No.
I got him going defensive as well, but I think they're going to go to Purdue out of the Big Ten and take George Karlaftis. I think I pronounced his name right. Edge rusher. Once again, a team that needs an edge rusher, the Vikings. I'm sorry, the Texans.
Yeah.
You know, he's coming out after his junior year, 6'4", 266, big time pass rusher, explosive, very athletic. But I like Karlaftis to go to the Houston Texans. And you know, if you look at Houston, they were looking offensive lineman and looking edge rusher. They get Karlaftis here after taking Ekwonu, the offensive tackle from NC State, at number 3. It's a pretty good start on the first day of the NFL draft.
Yeah.
If they keep both picks.
Yeah, if. That's a big if. So, number 14, I'll let you handle this one first. The Ravens.
So I know you excited about this with the Ravens. But But I like a guy you mentioned going to the Vikings as well, or the not the Vikings, but the Texans. Young man from out of Georgia, big defensive tackle, Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
Boy, Jordan Davis is a huge guy, 6'6", 341. Steve, he's just a mountain of a guy.
He is.
Man, you know, a lot of people compare him to, get this now, some people compare him to Refrigerator Perry. How about that from back in the day, in the early 80s?
Think he'll run the ball?
I don't know. But being compared to the Fridge is a pretty good deal. But he is a huge guy who's going to really plug up some holes up the middle. So I like him, Jordan Davis, go to Baltimore.
As bad as I hate to... You know, Baltimore has always prided himself on defense. You had the Ray Lewises, the Ed Reeds, the Terrell Suggs, just to name a few. And I think they add another spot to another guy to the defense. Trent McDuffie, cornerback out of Washington. Last year, if you look, of course, the injuries, and I'm not making excuses for them, injuries are part of the game, but injuries that really ate up the Ravens last year. They probably would have been a playoff team if not for those injuries, but like I said, that's part of the game, but especially in the secondary. Secondary was one of the weak points for the Ravens, and of course they've got a lot of guys coming back, you know, and now I think they add another weapon to that secondary. Trent McDuffie out of Washington. Good athlete, good agility, and he's quick. He is not afraid to come up and make a tackle, and in the AFC North, that's something you've got to be able to do. You've got to be able to come up and make a tackle. And but I've got them taking Trent McDuffie from Washington. So the Eagles up next with their first of two picks, 15th and 18th, and I've got them going. I've got them going defense here, and sticking to it. You know, of course, every year we sit here and we go through. I wish we could tell you how many SEC players we've had in these. I should look it up, but I'm not going to do that right now. But another University of Georgia, I've got them taking Devontae White, defensive tackle out of Georgia. I think the Eagles are looking to get, of course, everybody's big thing is, well, they're going to go take another wide receiver this year. And we may get to that later on. But Devontae White, 315 pounds, 6'3", just had an awesome year on that line. That defense, you know, a lot of people sit here and talk about some of the great defenses in college football. Georgia's defense last year was one of the most impressive defenses in college football I've seen in a long time. Of course, they had the little hiccup against Alabama in the SEC championship game, but they came back strong in the national championship game. Had Alabama's quarterback on the run for a lot of that game. But I think this is where they go here. Devontae White, defensive tackle for Georgia.
Well, I'm gonna go Philly. I think they're gonna get a wide receiver.
Oh yeah.
And this guy, I think, is the best wide receiver in this draft. Is Chris Olave from Ohio State. I think Philly goes and grabs him. And like I said, I think he is the best wide receiver in this draft. Even though his teammate Garrett Wilson's in this draft,
right.
Got the young man Drake London from out of USC in the draft as well. Jamison Williams from Alabama's in this draft as well. But I really like Chris Olave, and I think that's where Philadelphia goes here.
Right. So, number 16 is the Saints, one of their two picks. So who you got there?
Well, I think the Saints are going to go. They need a quarterback. Drew Brees is now on the. I'm thinking Chowan here. Drew Brees is now on the NBC.
NBC, yeah.
Yeah, and they got Jameis Winston there.
Mm.
I'm going to go just down the road from the Pittsburgh Steelers headquarters and go to University of Pittsburgh.
Oh,
and
wow.
I think Kenny Pickett is going to go to New Orleans.
Pickett. Okay. Well, I've got them going. You know, they're gonna. I think they're going to stick with Winston coming off that injury. They want to protect him. And I got a guy you talked about a little earlier from Mississippi State, Charles Cross, big tackle. I think they need, and they've got 2 picks, so I think they come back and get another need in just a few minutes. But they definitely need something on that offensive line to protect Winston, and who knows? We don't know what Alvin Kamara's fate's going to be. He's still awaiting his trial, but I'm sure he'll be playing. By that time, he'll be playing. So they need somebody to open some holes for Kamara. But yeah, I've got him taking Charles Cross, who easily, and I'm telling you guys this, easily could be up there in the top 10 like Gaddis. I think you had him in the top 10. Yeah, you had him at number 9. Easily be in the top 10. And may go even higher. Maybe could go in the top 5. He's that good where he could go that far. But I've got him at number 16 to the Saints. So, Chargers. Justin Herbert, you got the big time offense. They picked up some. They spent a lot of money on defense this year, and that's one of the problems that the Chargers have always had. You go back to the days when you had Dan Fouts, you had Eric Coryell, you had John Jefferson, Charlie Joyner, Wes Chandler, Kellen Winslow, you had Chuck Muncie. You had all the offense in the world, but you didn't have and the offense would score 40 points a game, but you didn't have a defense that could hold them to under 40 points. And now you kind of got that, but they took care of a lot of the defensive problems in free agency, and I think they go add another weapon for Justin Herbert. You imagine, okay, you looking at you're playing in the secondary. Keenan Allen comes out, of course. You gotta keep your eye on him. Mike Williams is another one you got to come out, and then you add a new weapon, Jameson Williams from Alabama. Add him to the mix, and what do? Who do you double team there? You can't double team anybody because there's the 3 big weapons there. Of course. He's got that pedigree, the wide receiver out of Alabama, the SEC, Nick Saban. But, yeah, Chargers at him, you talk about an explosive offense. This gets a little bit more explosive with Jameson Williams in there.
I agree. This Charger football team is coming on. They made some good trades, picked up some free agents during the offseason here. I really like the thing where they're headed. But, Stevie, I'm going to go on the offensive tackle side of things because I know they need some help on an offensive line to kind of protect Justin Herbert. And I'm going to go Trevor Deming, an offensive tackle from Northern Iowa, who I think will be a big-time player on the offensive line for the L.A. Chargers.
Yeah, they definitely, anything, like I said, all that, they spent a lot of money on defense, so they need to go offense on this. So now, second pick for the Eagles, they had 15th, now they're at number 18th. Who you got for the Eagles?
Well, I like a guy here that you liked really up in the draft. I don't know that he'll fall to Philly or not, but in my draft he did. But, they need some help at safety. They need some help at corner. I think they're going to take Amari Gardner from Cincinnati.
Oh, wow.
Who is, like I said earlier, a lot of people say he reminds them of Dominique Rogers-Cromartie.
Yeah.
6'3", 190, shutdown corner. I like him with Philly. Hope they don't get him. Dallas is in the same, divisions they are. But I tell you what, Philly's got a chance to really do well for themselves here.
Yeah, I'm going wide receiver, of course. They've got to have a receiver. You had one earlier. And I think this is the same one you had earlier, Chris Olave from Ohio State. I mean, like you said, a guy that is just as good a receiver as any receiver in the draft. But, yeah, the Eagles, of course, keep the streak going of taking, I think this is, the 4th year in a row they've taken a wide receiver in the first round. So, Chris Olave, I've got him going to the Eagles here.
I think he's the best receiver in the draft, honestly.
I think you're going to see.
I think he is.
Yeah.
Man, I think he's really good.
Yeah. So, number 19, the Saints. I've got the Saints with their second pick here taking a receiver. And then they're going Penn State. Jahan Dotson from Penn State, one of those explosive receivers. Mike Williams out all last year with, between, I guess it was fights and injuries. He was suspended for a couple games for fighting in practice, I think, and then he had an injury that he was supposed to come back for him and didn't come back. So who knows how he'll be this year. So maybe he'll be healthy, but you need to add another weapon there. And I've got him taking Jahan Dotson, wide receiver from Penn State.
I like New Orleans to take a wide receiver as well, and I'm going to go to a guy you mentioned earlier. He wore that burgundy and gold out at Southern Cal. Drake London, wide receiver. I think New Orleans takes him. Kenny Pickett throwing to Drake London. I like him.
All right. Number 20, my boys, the Steelers. And before I talk about, all the talk for the last 3 weeks, and if you watch the pro days, Tomlin, Colbert, who is going out as CEO, the retiring CEO, they were at all these pro days for quarterbacks. And then this week you hear them talk about they devoted a lot of their time this year to quarterbacks, just like they did running backs last year, which Najee Harris got picked in the first round last year. And a little bit different situation with the quarterback situation this year. 18 years, we haven't had to worry about a quarterback with Big Ben. But last year when we picked Najee Harris, there was no starting running back on the roster. Benny Snell was number 1 on the depth chart. So you didn't have much of a choice. But here, you got Mitch Trubisky, which they brought over in free agency from Buffalo. And to tell you the truth, out of all the free agent quarterbacks out there, that was one that I was like, okay, this is one we aren't going to have to spend an arm and a leg for. We're not going to have to give up a lot of draft picks for. That we can get in there and see what he can do. If he can be a good game manager, then, we'll be okay. But one of the things I've been seeing, we do not need, if we're going to pick a quarterback, we do not need to trade up to get him. Not in this year's draft. I don't think you need to go from 20th to, maybe 20th to 17, but not 20th to 6th or 20th to 10th. But as much as, and I would love to see him go defense here. I would love to see Kyle Hamilton fall in their lap. I would love to see this wide receiver from, what's his name? From North Dakota State, Christian Watson. If you haven't seen him, look at him. He's explosive, he's tall, he's big, and he's explosive, he's fast. A lot of people comparing him to Randy Moss, but with everything I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, I'm saying the Steelers take Malik Willis from Liberty, quarterback from Liberty here.
And it's sure been a lot of talk about Mike Tomlin being fascinated with.
Oh, yes. Yes, he is. And
I'm with you.
You don't have to rush him in. You got Trubisky in there. I don't think he's going to come out and be ready. And I'm saying that because of, playing at Liberty is a little bit different than playing at somebody like Alabama. I don't know if he's going to be ready for the NFL quite, right away. So you got Trubisky there that can kind of be the gap between when Willis would take over. But yeah, I think he's going to be a quarterback. If Willis is there, they're definitely going to take him, I think.
Well, he'll be in Charlotte a long time before Pittsburgh. We got that pick, according to my draft. Let me ask you this: you talk about a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Would you take Matt Corral from Ole Miss?
Yes, I would. I'll tell you what. There's two of them. If they're going to take a quarterback, but there's two of them I would like to see, and I wouldn't mind seeing. Corral's one of them, and Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati is one that I would not mind seeing. They've both got huge upsides, but I'm just not. I've tried and I've watched some film of these quarterbacks. I'm just not into this quarterback class this year. And it could fool me. It could be like one of those. The 83 draft class, it could be like the 2004 draft class, but I'm just not feeling the quarterback class this year.
Well, I think the guy is really underrated, Sam Howell, but I'm a Carolina fan, so nonetheless. But look, I'm gonna settle all this for the front office staff for Pittsburgh and Mike Thomas, his staff, and I love Mike Tomlin.
Yeah,
great football coach, done a great job in the NFL for Pittsburgh. But he needs a defensive back, Stevie, and the guy he can get that I think will really help him be Trent Mcduffie, defensive back out of Washington.
right.
5'11", 193, lockdown corner. I think a guy who could really help him. But I'm with you. I think Trubisky can make it happen, and can be efficient some for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about. We talked about earlier about he didn't have a lot of experience coming in to the NFL, and still did a pretty good job his rookie year. But I think with Pittsburgh right now, they didn't make big splashes in free agency, but they plugged holes, and they made it where right now we could go with whoever's best available. We've got needs, but we can go with whoever's best available. Of course, running back, I don't think that would be an issue, but I just think we've got some. I think one of our big pickups that's gonna make a big difference on the defense was Miles Jack. I think that was a great pickup, and you didn't have to pay a lot for him, but I think he's a guy that's going to make some tackles, and maybe he'll light a fire under Devin Bush, who hadn't been the same since coming off that ACL injury. But yeah, but I've got Steelers taking a quarterback here. We'll see. And like you said, maybe. And I hate to say it this way, it sounds bad, but maybe Willis will be gone by like you said, by that time. So, number 20, and nothing against Willis. I'm just not, and it would be that way if with any of these quarterbacks right now. I'm just not into this quarterback class this year. I don't know what it is. But Patriots at number 21, who you got?
Well, I think they need some help at cornerback, linebacker, offensive tackle. You never know what New England's going to do. They don't have a lot of highly rated people come out of college. They got the 21st pick. I don't even know if they'll stay at the 21st
I was getting ready to say the same thing.
Yeah, but I like them to go at linebacker. I think they'll take Nakobe Deans out of Georgia. A lot of people say he reminds them of Raekwon Smith, who played down at Georgia. He's 5'11", 229, just plays all over the field, big-time playmaker. I think they'll take Nakobe Deans, the linebacker from out of Georgia.
Yeah, this is one of those where I could definitely see Belichick saying, you know what, let's trade back, get some more picks. And he's good for doing that. But I've got him right now. I'm going defense. The linebacker guy you talked about a little bit earlier, Devin Lloyd, linebacker of Utah. But like we said, I don't think he'll move up because Belichick doesn't like, unless it's somebody he really likes. I don't see him moving up and giving up draft collateral, but he will go down and try to build up that draft collateral, and he'll make it work most of the time. But I've got him going Devin Lloyd, University of Utah. So number 22, Green Bay Packers. And do you know it has been since, of course, everybody knows Devontae Adams is gone. The big-time receiver for the Packers for so many years, gone to the Raiders. But do you realize it's been since 2002 since the Packers drafted a wide receiver in the first round? And he was not a first-round pick. I think he was a second round pick, and boy, a lot of people kicked themselves for passing on him. But I've got him going offensive line. A guy you talked about a little bit earlier. They want to protect Aaron Rodgers with this big contract he's got. But Trevor Penning, tackle from Northern Iowa. And I'm like you. I think this is a guy that you're going to see a lot of in the coming years. He's going to be one of those all-pro offensive linemen in the years to come. And picking him up, I think they get a steal at number 22 with Trevor Penning.
You talk about Penning from Northern Iowa. Stevie, you look throughout the NFL, a lot of the linemen are from the MAC.
Yeah.
Like the Miami and Bowling Green. A lot of those guys are from that league, and that is a good league from an offensive lineman standpoint. And Penning, he certainly falls in that with Northern Iowa. But as we talk about the Green Bay Packers, they need wide receivers.
Yeah.
And a guy who has already gone in your draft, I've got him going here from Penn State, Jahan Dotson. Dotson at 5'11", 178. They say may be the best right runner in this draft. But coming out of Penn State, and there's several guys from Penn State going out in this draft, and it makes you wonder why they won more games in the Big Ten. But
yeah,
I like Dotson to go with Green Bay and team up with Aaron Rodgers. We'll see what happens up in Green Bay. But I think Devontae Adams is a huge loss.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you think about this, and this is the way, and maybe I'll look at it wrong. I know it's a business, and these guys got to make a living, but Aaron Rodgers, how much was that contract he got this year? I mean, it was way up there. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be hurting for money anytime soon, even before this contract. You rather get paid more money and lose instead of, you could have took some of that money and kept Devontae Adams instead of letting him, taking all that money. Because, in my book, and I'm sure, everybody say it's easy for you to say you're not in that position. In my book, Aaron Rodgers has got one ring, but Aaron Rodgers wants another ring, and he wants to get rid of that monkey on his back right now, that he can do it during the regular season here lately, but he can't win in the big game in the playoffs, and he has not been able to do that here lately. But I would think I would give up some of that money and say, look, pay me this, give him this, and keep him here so we can build on this and try to get back to the big game. But evidently, Aaron Rodgers is thinking a little bit more different than I am. I guess State Farm is not footing the bill as much as they were anymore. But number 23, Arizona Cardinals. Who you got, bub?
Well, Arizona needs some help at quarterback. They need some defensive lineman help. They need wide receiver help. I think the best guy at this spot in the draft is a kid from down in Clemson. It's kind of funny. This is the first Clemson player to have been picked in the draft. Andre Booth, defensive back, 6 foot, 194. A lot of people would compare him to Aqib Talib, who was great in the NFL, playing with several different teams, aggressive, good cornerback, good size, physical size, good ball skills, good tackler. But I think he ends up with Arizona in corner. But I think Arizona's got big problems trying to decide what the heck Kyler Murray's going to do.
And you look at their season last year, they started off strong. And, of course, after that Green Bay game they lost and Murray pulled up lame with a foot injury, they went downhill quick. And they did not have a winning record that second half of the year after starting off being I think they were the last team to lose a game in the NFL last year, but really sputtered going down. And I think they're going defense here. And I've got them going, like I said, another guy that you talked about earlier, George Karlaftis, the edge rusher from Purdue. I think they try to get the defense a little bit of power there. Isaiah Simmons, who was from Clemson, has not really hit his stride yet. That was one of the picks last year that I thought I would have loved to seen him in Pittsburgh uniform, but we'll see how that goes. But Arizona, I've got to take George Karlaftis from Purdue. Next up, I'll let you take this one first. The Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys? Yeah, we'll see. They need offensive line help. They moved some people around free agency, got some guys to come back, some guys didn't come back. They need an edge rusher like everybody else, safety, wide receiver. But I think they need a good offensive lineman. And the guy I think who could solidify that line is the center from Iowa, Tyler Lindenbaum.
Oh, wow.
I think he'll be a great addition to this offensive line for Dallas. And I think he will be an all-pro someday for them.
See, I wish Pittsburgh was one of those teams that had like 2 or 3 picks, because I would love to take him at Pittsburgh. I think he would solve a lot of the problems on that offensive line, which I've got him going defense. And this is a guy that a lot of people haven't talked about, but you watch film of this guy, he's explosive in the middle. He, as big as he is, he can move around. And I've got them taking Logan Hall, defensive tackle from University of Houston. Got them trying to shore up that defensive line there. But Cowboys. Let's talk a little bit about your Cowboys. Of course, you got Prescott back. You lost Cooper. You kept Gallup. Gallup coming off a big injury. What's your outlook on the Cowboys this year?
Well, I'm not so sure. And don't get me wrong. Yeah, I like Dak Prescott. I don't think they win the Super Bowl with him. I honestly believe that. I think he's taking about as far as he can go. And I could be wrong. I hope I am wrong. There's been some talk about the Cowboys reaching out to Deebo Samuel, who's requested a trade. But you got to be able to get the ball to him.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the guy who can make it happen. I'm not so sure they got the right guy coaching the football team. But, I don't know. It's one thing about, and I think I was listening to a show earlier this week about the worst fans in any sport. And, of course, Dallas and Pittsburgh and the Yankees and all those. Yeah, they get all their accolades as far as that's concerned. But it's one thing I can say about Dallas and Pittsburgh fans and Yankee fans. You always think you can win it all every year. and that's the way you feel. I mean, I know you do as a Pittsburgh fan. I know Yankee fans do, and Cowboy fans. Even though we haven't been there in a long time, you're always optimistic, think you can win it. But, I don't know. I don't know if they got the right coaching staff. I think they've got the right defensive guy in Dan Quinn, to be honest. But like I said many times before, Jerry Jones has got a cash register for a brain, and we'll leave it at that.
Yep. And not only is your head coach, and this is my opinion, a lot of Cowboy fans won't agree with me. I don't think you got the right head coach, and I'm not sure about your offensive coordinator either. A lot of talk last year about moving him to head coach, but I'm not so sure with some of the play calling I see from him, and that he is the right man for the job either. But that's just my opinion. But McCarthy has that Super Bowl ring, and Jerry sees that and thinks, okay, we got that. We're going to get a Super Bowl this year. Or better yet, Jerry just thinks we're gonna make a profit this year. Then I think
he's going to make a profit. I can promise you.
That's more important to him, I think, and I've said that for years. That's more important to him than winning a Super Bowl. And what I've seen, especially since Jimmy Johnson is gone. So, 25, Buffalo Bills. Bills, one of those up-and-coming teams. Lost one of the incredible games. Of course, the NFL playoffs last year was probably the best playoffs I've seen in a long, long time. From week after, I think there was one blowout game, but you just had the Buffalo Kansas City game. I mean, it's probably one of the great games you'll see in NFL history. But Bills, I got them giving a little bit of offense here, giving Josh Allen a little bit of help on offense. Got them taking Breece Hall, a running back from Iowa State. He's quicker and he can make plays. He can make plays with his feet and make plays with his hands, catches out of the backfield. But give him a little bit of help up there because that's kind of something they've been missing with is a consistent running game. So the Bills, except for Josh Allen, that's another guy I think, if you got a guy that's your bread and butter on offense and you're running him like they were, I think the Tampa Bay game, no other running back in the first half had positive yards, and I think Josh Allen had 60 yards, was the leading rusher in the first half. So you don't need to try to put him out there too much, but maybe this will help Buffalo. Breece Hall, running back from Iowa State.
That's kind of funny. I think he's a running back. First running back's been picked.
Yep.
By either one of us.
Yep.
And I got the Bills going in a little different direction. I think they need some help in the secondary and on the defense. They need an offensive right tackle. But I don't like them grabbing the defensive back from Florida, Kamir Elam, which I think will be good for their secondary playing up in Buffalo. And I think he's a good fit in their secondary.
Okay. Number 26, the Tennessee Titans. Who you got?
Tennessee Titans. They need help at wide receiver, tight end, right tackle. I don't know if that as a wide receiver, maybe Garrett Wilson's still left on my board, and he'll come up a little bit later. But I think they go tight end, and they're going to take Trey McBride, the tight end out of Colorado State,
Okay.
to help their offense here.
I've got them going offense, but and this might surprise some people with this pick. But, Tannehill is one of those guys. Yeah, he's done a lot better job since he left Miami. In, of course, playoffs last year, he didn't do so well. But I've got him getting the heir apparent to Ryan Tannehill, and got him taking quarterback from Cincinnati, Desmond Ridder. This is one of those guys that if you talk about ready to play, I think he'll be ready to play, which he doesn't have to if Tannehill's there. He doesn't have to be ready to play. He can sit and learn a little bit. But, yeah, I was impressed with Ridder, the way he came along after that, especially beating Notre Dame at Notre Dame, the way he played in that game. He's tough. He can make plays with his feet, but and that's what an NFL quarterbacks these days are all about. They want somebody that can make plays with the feet too. But Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati is who I've got at number 26. Let's see, number 27, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I think
they need a quarterback, don't they?
Well, up until about 3 or 4 weeks ago, they did, because Tampa Bay, it was trouble in Tampa Bay. You couldn't get a Tampa Bay fan to come out and talk too much after Brady retired, but then unretired, so we're not looking at a quarterback, that's for sure. And we got a new head coach, of course. I don't know if you've seen much about the story about what Brady was planning with the Dolphins. That was the plan, was him to go to the Dolphins, Sean Payton to be the coach. And that kind of explains a little bit about the Brian Flores situation. Maybe this deal was being planned, and that's why they got rid of him. They wanted to get Sean Payton, but something fell through, and everything went haywire. Of course, Payton's still not coaching. Probably gonna do some commentary, I'm sure, before he ends up in Dallas when McCarthy messes up, and Brady is back unretired with Tampa Bay, and Arians has moved to the front office. Todd Bowles is now the coach. But here's a question for you. How'd you like to be that guy that bought the last touchdown pass that Brady threw, and then to see the reaction of him when they said, Brady is unretired?
I don't know if I can say this or not, but I would be pissed off.
Which I did hear that they made it right with him.
And they should have.
And they should have, yeah. That was not right. But I've got Tampa Bay giving Brady a little bit of help here on the offensive line. I've got him taking Kenyon Green from Texas A&M. Try to shore up that offensive line and protect him. What is he, like almost 50 now? But he had to come back. I thought we were going to have a Brady-less year, but you had to come back, didn't you?
Man, take some of that money and enjoy it. My goodness.
Exactly.
I mean, you need to come to Northeastern North Carolina and work for a while. You'd appreciate what you have. But, Sean Payton and Brady together would have been a fun watch.
Yeah, it would have been
a very fun. I would love Sean Payton to come back to Dallas. But
oh yeah, I think Jerry is just dying right now to get McCarthy out of there so he can make an offer to Payton.
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I'm going with you on this Tampa Bay situation, but it needs some offensive lineman help. But I think they're going to go to Boston College, who's got a lot of offensive linemen playing in the NFL. They have for many, many years. Zion Johnson, 6'3", 312. Yeah. He's a redshirt senior, so he's an older guy. He's a veteran. Big, burly lineman, good length. Kind of got that salty kind of demeanor about him. I like him to go on that Tampa Bay offensive line.
Okay. So number 28, second pick in the first round for the Packers. Who you got?
Well, they've already taken a wide receiver. If you need to take a second one, certainly George Pickens, the wide receiver from Georgia, is still there. and Garrett Wilson from my board is still there as well. But, I've already taken one wide receiver in Dotson from Penn State on my draft. So I think they're going to go safety-wise. They need some help in the secondary. I think they're going to take Dexter Hill, the safety from Michigan.
Okay. Now, with the Packers, and everybody expects me to pick them, have them picking a receiver, I've got them going defense. I've got them taking Quay Walker, linebacker from Georgia, who you talked about earlier. Yeah, you talked about him earlier, so I've got them sticking to that. Maybe, and I think they'll probably try to pick up a receiver in the second round. I think they're kind of used to taking those second and third round receivers, and Randall Cobb was a late pick, and they've had a lot of who else was Jordy Nelson was another one that was a late pick, so maybe they can make something work there. But Quay Walker from Georgia went to the Packers. So the Chiefs, the first of their 2 picks in a row. Chiefs got to get back on track. I've got them getting edge rusher Boye Mofe from Minnesota to try to get that defense. And the first part of the year, last year, when they were struggling, that defense was not up to par. And that, which you can't blame it all on defense because Mahomes was struggling a little bit. And they caught fire. And I don't think it was any coincidence that when Melvin Ingram came over from the Steelers, that they caught fire and almost made it to the Super Bowl. Didn't quite get there. They blew the second half against the Bengals. But, I've got them going to edge rusher. Boye Mofe from Minnesota. Who you got?
Well, I think they need a wide receiver. Of course, they lost Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
They picked up a couple other guys. I like him going to Ohio State, the guy you had on your board early, Garrett Wilson, taking this wide receiver spot here. I think he'll be really good playing with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes makes everybody look good.
Yeah.
And as a wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, I think, falls in a great spot here at the 29th pick for Kansas City.
But you know what? I will say this. The defensive coordinator for the Bengals, he's got some kind of formula to shut down Mahomes. Because 2 games last year, Mahomes comes out blazing in the first half. Second half, hardly does anything. And, cost him the Super Bowl. He got exposed a little bit in that AFC Championship game. I'll say that. But, yeah, definitely you can't deny what Patrick Mahomes did. And I'm giving him a wide receiver with this next pick at number 30. Treylon Burks, wide receiver from Arkansas. Now, there's a wide receiver out there we want to talk about a little bit that could end up going in this first round just because, he's not playing in a big-time program, but Christian Watson from North Dakota State. This could possibly be one. Tyreek Hill's gone. You got to replace his speed. Christian Watson from North Dakota State, blazing speed in the 40 time, like a 4.3 40, 6'4". A lot of comparisons to Randy Moss, which if that's the case, then watch out there. But I definitely could see the Chiefs taking a chance on this guy. Andy Reid could take a chance with this guy, and I think it would pay off.
Yeah, you're very much so. I think it very could pay off for this young man. But I think Kansas City, for their 30th pick, they're going to go defense, and they're going to take the Penn State defensive end edge rusher Arnold Ibukite.
Okay.
6'2",
wow.
215, redshirt senior, hard charging edge rusher. I think he'll give them some energy off the defensive end spot. If they can get Garrett Wilson, the Ibukite at 29-30, they're doing all right.
Yeah, way to reel off that name. I would have butchered that name right there. That's a radio guy right there. The guy that's got a lot of experience right there. 31, Cincinnati Bengals, AFC champions. Who you got?
Well, everybody was all the talk after the Super Bowl. They need some help from the offensive line, but they kind of addressed that with free agency. They got Ted Karras from New England and Alex Kappa from Tampa Bay and Leo Collins from Dallas, so they would kind of address that. So they need some help at corner and edge rusher. Guy you mentioned a couple of picks ago, Boyce Moffitt, a young man from out of Minnesota, big edge rusher. I think he goes to Cincinnati. And I know you don't like to hear this, but I like what Cincinnati's doing.
Oh, well,
and they have really put together a good football team, and obviously playing in the Super Bowl. But they really got a good football team.
let me tell you, when we were doing the Super Bowl preview show, I made the comment that, as bad as I hate to say it, because they've got a young offense, if they stick together and that defense comes along, and of course, they've got some problems on the offensive line that they're trying to address, but if that offense sticks together and works well, yeah, Pittsburgh and the rest of the AFC North are in trouble. But I've got them going defense here. I've got them going, and a guy you talked about a little bit earlier from Clemson, Andrew Booth, who is a guy that I would not mind seeing in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh needs a cornerback as well, and I would love to see Andrew Booth in Pittsburgh. He's done a great job with Clemson. Like you said, very aggressive guy. I like the comparison to Keith Talib. I hope his attitude isn't as bad as Talib's was, but Andrew Booth I've got going to the Bengals here. Number 32. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think they need a corner. If Booth falls to them, they'll be just fine.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll see if Kansas City takes both of those picks. Who knows?
All right, we're down to the last pick, and the Detroit Lions get the pick from the Rams for Matthew Stafford, which, of course, the Rams were happy to give up that pick. It worked out pretty well for them with a Super Bowl championship. But the Lions, Jared Goff, don't think he's the long-term answer in Detroit. And Detroit, of course, this is their second pick. They had the number 2 pick, which they went defense, and this is probably going to make you happy. Jared Goff, not the answer. So I've got them taking Sam Howell from Carolina.
It's nice of you to say that. Yeah, nice of you to say that.
And believe it or not, as much as I talk about this quarterback class I'm not feeling it, I've had 4 quarterbacks picked in this first round. So what does that tell you?
Well, I've got another quarterback as well. And the guy, I think, and the reason I say this is because he played in the SEC, and I give the SEC so much credit because they're the best college conference in the country. Detroit, I'm like you. I think they need another breath of fresh air at quarterback. I like Matt Corral in this spot from Ole Miss. I think he's a good quarterback. I've heard a lot of people say they think he maybe the best guy coming out of the college ranks. But I don't think you can go wrong with Corral or Sam Howell here.
Yeah.
But I'll take Matt Corral.
So that does it for this year's mock draft. But before we get out of here, we'll talk a little bit about what are some of the things you look forward to watching this NFL draft. What are somebody you're looking at that you want to see where they end up at?
Oh, that's pretty easy for me. Ja'Quan Roberson, who played at Hertford County. The last few years I did Hertford County football, has had a great career at Wake Forest, redshirted, came on, second team All-ACC, has had a good pro combine, came out this year, had another year left. I like this. I'm anxious to see what Ja'Quari's going to do as far as getting drafted. And then a guy who I think is a huge long shot, and you know him as well as anyone else, is Bryce Witt.
Bryce Witt.
From over at Chowan. Had a couple of good pro days down at East Carolina, North Carolina A&T. Do I think he get drafted? No, I don't. But will he get an opportunity to sign as a free agent? Just get the opportunity.
Yeah.
He played well in the HBCU Legacy game. Should have been the MVP. Was not. I can tell you, there's going to be a lot of people from over in Murfreesboro keep an eye on that draft over the next 3 or 4 days. But will he get signed to play somewhere and hit in the NFL? Who knows? Will he get a Canadian Football League offer, Arena Football League offer? I think he will somewhere down the line. But I would love to see him get an opportunity. And like I said, he and Ja'Quan Robinson are the 2 guys I'm really keeping an eye on here. And hopefully those guys will get an opportunity. I think Ja'Quan's got a chance to be drafted. We'll see.
Right.
Maybe 4th or 5th round. But he came out early. I would love to see Hertford County guy in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm scanning through scanning through my mock draft that I follow up here right now to see if I can see him up here. And you talk about Bryce. You know, I got the chance to see him play, and saw the arm, and the arm is good. He's got a cannon, and he's got accuracy too. Here's the thing: you talked about Arena League, and you talked about Canadian, but now, and we need to talk about what your thoughts on this. You've also got two other shots he may get. USFL, which started, if it keeps going, which started this was the second week this past week, and the XFL is supposed to be coming soon. So more opportunities there for them to maybe to get a chance there. There's more opportunities for these guys now, and like you said, and I look at Bryce as one of those, like you said, had a good game at that legacy game, had a good pro days. If somebody would just give him a chance, you never know what might happen with him.
That's true, and I think the thing that is different though for me though, Stevie, is the speed of the defense.
Yeah,
is going to be different from what he's been seeing at the Division II level here in the CIAA. And even though he's able to handle it well down the HBCU legacy game, the speed here in the NFL is tremendous. But I don't second guess him. I hope he gets an opportunity. That's all I'm hoping for. He gets a chance to sign somewhere as a free agent, just to get an opportunity.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the guys here, and one guy that I think that due to injury somebody could get a real steal at is Michi from Alabama, the Alabama wide receiver. Of course, had the injury. I want to say it was in the SEC championship game, and somebody picks him up, and they'll probably get a steal with him. And you've got another quarterback that nobody's really talking about, Carson Strong from Nevada. He could end up being, there's a lot of talk about it. Some people have some interest in him, but I'm just, I would rather take a chance with a later quarterback this year than go all out for a first-round quarterback this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see what's going to happen. Like I said, I love the NFL draft. You take care of the plane tickets with Frank, I'll take care of the motel rooms. We'll get out to Vegas.
I'm scanning through it, and I hadn't seen Ja'Cory yet. I did see, what kind of name is this now? We've had, what was the guy's name? Greedy Williams was a defensive back. We got a guy from Auburn, Smoke Monday. He's a safety. Let me see. I'm looking. Emeka Ekezie, they've got him being drafted. This is just a mock draft, so I'm on round 7 now, and I haven't seen Ja'Cory yet.
Well, hopefully he'll get picked. It's just
he
had a great year. Like I said,
he sure did. I mean,
he
set records at Wake Forest. So I mean, you're playing in an ACC school. I do not. Ja'Cory Robinson, 7th round, 242nd pick to the Carolina Panthers.
That'd be nice playing right here in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah.
Playing with Malik Willis, that'd be nice.
Yeah. So that's some of the ones we're looking forward to. But the coverage, we talk about it every year. Who are you going to be watching, you think? You going to flip, or are you going to stick with one?
I'll probably flip back and forth. It depends. Bill Kuiper will not be in Vegas, by the way. He elected not to take the coronavirus vaccine, so he's going to work from his home, but he's going to be live from his home. I'm not sure if Louis Riddick is going to be right with him, but I think Louis Riddick is terrific on the NFL draft.
Yes.
I know Kirk Herbstreit will not be with ESPN either.
Blood clot.
Yeah, he's got some problems health-wise. So I'm not sure who's going to absolutely be in Las Vegas for ESPN. And I haven't really looked to see who was going to be on the NFL Network. So.
I'm sure Jeremiah will be there. Probably Bucky Brooks. They'll probably have them there. I'm sure Michael Irvin will be there. But it's going to be interesting this year. Like I said, this is one year where I am not so sure. Usually we're like, okay, we'll get the first 2 or 3 right, but after that, it's downhill from there. It may not even happen with the first 2 or 3 with us.
You got 8 teams that do not have a first-round pick: the Rams, 49ers, Miami, Raiders, Colts, Cleveland, Denver, and Chicago. You see any of those guys trading to get in the first round? The only one I could think of was probably 49ers, because they're looking to maybe move Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, that would be.
And that might could get him into the first round.
Yeah, that would be the only way I'd see one of them getting in there. And the way I'm hearing, they're asking such a steep price for him that I don't even know if that'll happen. I don't know how that's going to go down. That's kind of, you got a guy like Deebo that was pretty much, and I'm going to say this. Everybody was talking about people. One of the talk before Trubisky come on. Need to get Garoppolo in Pittsburgh. He'd be a great quarterback in Pittsburgh. I'm not sold on Garoppolo. Garoppolo has, they were like, he got him to the Super Bowl. Garoppolo didn't get him to the Super Bowl. You go look at that NFC Championship game, and I forget who they were playing against, but they had over 200, almost 250 yards of rushing, and I think he had less than 100 yards of passing, and the defense played incredible. Just like this role they got on this past year, it was about defense, and it was about Deebo Samuel. He can't stay healthy. He can't even pass a physical right now. That's why he hasn't been traded or signed anywhere else. So, Garoppolo is not a quarterback I would want to have. I would, you Panther fans that would rather have Garoppolo than Mayfield, I think you're crazy.
I agree with you. But if there's one team that's got 2 picks in that first round that I think Deebo Samuel would be a big-time fit with, would be the Green Bay Packers.
Definitely. And they need a receiver. So, all right. Well, we've done it again, 17th year, and hopefully we'll be back for 18th. But
absolutely.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Gaddis, as always, thank you so much for being with me. I always love talking to you, and hopefully we'll get some good news on some of these local guys that will get signed, get a chance.
It would be nice, Stephen. And once again, it's great to be with you. We have done this, like you said, for 17 times here, and it's always fun. We never get many of them right, but nonetheless, we give it a try, and it's always fun to talk about the NFL, and I look forward to the draft starting on Thursday night. Thanks for asking me to be along on your podcast here. Congratulations on your daughter attending the prom here for the final time. And your daughter's getting ready to graduate here. I know you're kind of excited about that.
Definitely.
What the next step is for her. And somebody's getting a little older other than me.
Yeah, I'm flirting with 50 right now, but I'm not quite there. But yeah,
look, it's always good to get another year in the books, brother.
Exactly. I'd a whole lot rather get another year than not be here for it. But
amen. Just a number. That's all it is.
Exactly. And we're counting down now of just about tomorrow. It'll be a month exactly before graduation. So, we're counting it down. We're excited about it, but very proud of her of what she's done and the young lady she's grown up to be. I think we did pretty good with her.
I think you did as well.
All right.
Be proud of it.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. That's our mock draft. You be sure to let us know who we picked wrong, who you think we should have picked, and who you think your favorite team should have picked. Check us out on. You can check us out on Twitter. Final Score 73 on Twitter. And then you can check us out on our Facebook page. That's also the Final Score. You can join our Facebook group. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, which we have had big-time response here lately with some of the vintage football games. I don't know if you've had a chance to check them out. Back from the 80s. We took a time machine back to the 80s. And we'll have more to come on that, hopefully. But subscribe, leave us a good review, and hit me up on Facebook, on Twitter, like I said, and let us know what you'd like to talk about or if you have any questions like that. Gaddis, have a great night, guy, and enjoy the draft. I'm sure we'll be texting back and forth, but enjoy the draft and have a great night, buddy.
You do the same, my friend. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that's Gaddis Hodges on the final score.